Welcome to Pathway to Purpose. First of all, I want to thank you so much for joining me. This is actually my very first YouTube video. So it might suck, but I apologize in advance if it does. You might see me crash and burn here in the next few minutes. But my intent is to help us align our values with our daily tasks. Now, there's several reasons why that's important. Number one, it will help us have a life full of purpose. Number two, it will help us have much deeper, more meaningful relationships. And number three, it will help us have a much more fulfilling life. When I first started researching this idea on how to live a life of purpose, I was absolutely shocked. Time after time, the numbers kept coming back, and they said between 58 and 78% of people never find their true purpose. Between 58 and 78%, obviously that's way over half. That was a lot bigger than I expected. And to me, I thought, oh my gosh, I want to do something to help fix that. A little bit about me, since we're just getting to know one another. My life has had multiple journeys. When I was around 17 or 18, there were two things I wanted to do. Number one, I wanted to be a youth pastor. So my interest was in helping teenagers, kids, kind of take that first step as they're getting into life. Secondly, I wanted to be a computer science major. So I was very intent on being like a systems analyst and getting into computer science, which was huge at that time. I did go to college, and once I got there, I got sidetracked, as many 19-year-olds do. Ultimately, I got married and quit college. Yep, I got married at 21. And so that was kind of a trial marriage. Didn't last long. So by the time I was 22, I was a college dropout and divorced. So the resume was not looking good at that point. But the one thing I discovered shortly thereafter was photography. Creating images was an amazing experience. And now that I wasn't going into computer science, I decided photography was what I wanted to do. Shortly after that, I fell in love again, and within 2 or 3 years, I was remarried and had a corporate job as a staff videographer. Things were once again looking up, but as I eventually grew tired of the corporate BS within that organization, I decided to quit and pursue a career as a freelance videographer. Then I had 2 daughters, and then my second wife and I weren't getting along anymore. It got ugly. It was stressful, it was broken, and we couldn't fix it. I'd gone from a high to a low to a high, back to another low. Now, getting divorced the first time was easy as divorce can be. No kids, no house, not much stuff. But getting divorced this time was a lot harder. And if you think at that point that I felt like I was living a life of purpose, no, I was not at all. I was crushed, I was depressed, I was disheartened, I was defeated. So I started reading, I started praying, I started trying to figure things out in here, but most importantly in here. And as I worked through the pain, as I really got to where things were getting much better in my life for what was then the second time, I began to wonder, is there anything I can do to help other people avoid the pain that I had been through? Is there anything I can do to help people get through the messes that I had been through? And that's where the idea for Pathway to Purpose came from. I am not perfect. I've been through a lot in my life, but I wanted to be able to help others, including you, discover how you yourself can get on your own pathway to purpose. Let's talk about what the lack of purpose looks like and how you can identify it in your life. So number one would be an overwhelming feeling of uncertainty. Secondly, a sense of drifting. And what I mean by that is just kind of going through life, just not really feeling like you have a place, just kind of blowing with the wind. Another, I would say, is just the feeling of being lost. Just not belonging. All of these things signify a lack of direction. And when you lack direction, it's going to be really hard to make decisions in your life, whether it involves career choices, personal goals, or relationships. You also probably struggle with how to set priorities because you can't really sense how all the puzzle pieces of your life fit together. Some other signs that you lack purpose are feelings of anxiety. I'm also going to put depression. These are things that I've definitely have felt. Being empty, and I'll say dissatisfied. I've had multiple times in my life where I have experienced these things. And at my absolute worst time of my life, I actually wanted to end it. I didn't feel like I had any value. I didn't feel like I was worth anything. I felt completely depressed. I was anxious. I was incredibly down on myself. I felt like it wouldn't matter if I was gone. And I felt like no one else would care if I was gone either. But those are lies. Yes, people were injecting those thoughts into my life, and you know what happens when we have someone in our life that does that? We actually start to believe it. And I had started believing those things about myself. Now, if you know what I'm talking about, this channel is definitely for you. You see, we don't have to stay there. In fact, let's just start right here by acknowledging sometimes life just sucks. Sometimes it's hard, it's painful. Life can be very difficult. But I want you to understand that you are important. You are valuable. You do have a purpose. Now, you may not know what that purpose is right now, but we're going to get to work on it. We're going to try to figure it out. So, here's a few things that we're going to be discussing every week. We're going to cover things like how to gain clarity and direction. How to overcome the emotional challenges. We've just talked about several emotions, and we're going to talk about how to overcome those. We're also going to talk about just how to beat the roadblocks, like overwhelm, like when you're trying to figure out what's going on and you just feel overwhelmed. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with things like procrastination, just putting off the things that you should be doing? There are 3 things I would like you to do in order to help get this channel off the runway. Number 1, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. That would actually help you be able to find this channel next time. Number 2, if you hit the like button, that'll actually help other people find this channel as well. And then thirdly, if you hit the notification button, that'll help make sure you can join us each week. Just so you know, finding your purpose is not a one video, 10-minute conversation. It is something that we have to go over and sort of process through. It is a process. It does take time and it does take effort. But I look forward to being with you on that journey, and I definitely look forward to seeing you next week.